Hakeem Olufemi Gbajabiamila. God bless you all.
We suggested to the Federal Executive Council and Council approved that maybe we could look at the option of exiting the subsidy.
Federal government set to pay subsidy for only 6 months in 2023.
I will invite Auditor General to recite the query, the caption of his query on NPA.
And House urges Nigeria Ports Authority to hold reconciliatory meeting with seaport terminal operators. This is House Ticket, your weekly legislative window into the activities of the House of Representatives, Federal Republic of Nigeria, coming to you on the NTA Parliament. It's good to be with you again. Even though the House is on recess, a number of committees have been busy tidying up legislative business. And House Ticket, as always, is on ground to bring you reports from these meetings and other unfolding events. Along this line, we have a report on the sitting of the House Ad-hoc Committee on Petroleum Products Subsidy Regime from 2013 to 2022, which held last week, where the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, appeared to provide the committee with vital information. The ever-busy Public Accouts Committee is also at its duty post, meeting with ministries, departments and agencies of the federal government to resolve issues raised in audit queries from the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation. Related to this, we have an interview with the Chairman House Committee on Public Accounts. He shed more light on the activities of his committee. Details of this and more as the program resumes fully after the break. Thanks for joining us.
The entire purpose of the legislative agenda is to direct our legislative resources and efforts in a coordinated effort to ensure the well-being of the individual in a life of safety and freedom. That is a high ambition, but it's well worth the effort. We have passed landmark legislation to fix our oil and gas industry, reform the police, and reorganize the corporate administration system in our country. We have considered and passed meaningful legislation that impacts all areas of our national life.
House Ticket begins with reports of recent activities from the committee rooms in the Green Wing of the National Assembly. Thursday, 18th of August 2022, the House of Representatives Ad-hoc Committee set up to investigate the Petroleum Products Subsidy Regime from 2013 to 2022, engaged the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, over payment of subsidy on premium motor spirit, popularly known as petrol, by the federal government. In another room, the Public Accounts Committee continued its investigation into queries from the Auditor General's office. Let's get details of these meetings.
Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning consulted with the leadership of the National Assembly.
In her presentation during the meeting with the Ad hoc Committee investigating the subsidy regime, the minister disclosed that the federal government had now proposed a new date to end payments on under-recovery between the landing cost and regulated pumpers of PMS. She said the subsidy regime was not sustainable and might force the government to borrow more in 2023. According to the finance minister, the government had now planned for payment of subsidy for only half of next year, as contained in the 2023 to 2025 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and Fiscal Strategy Paper, MTEF-FSP.
We went to the National Economic Council and then we went to the Federal Executive Council. The Federal Executive Council has approved the MTEF and Mr. President has conveyed this MTEF to the National Assembly. One thing that stands out in the MTEF was that if the nation holds on to fuel subsidy as it is designed now, we will be incurring from January to December a subsidy cost of 6.4 trillion. But we suggested to the Federal Executive Council and Council approved that maybe we could look at the option of exiting the subsidy half year. So if we did that, then the cost will be 3.3 trillion, which is 3.35 trillion, which is half of the 6.7. The Federal Executive Council approved the second option, so that is the option that was conveyed by His Excellency the President to the National Assembly.
The minister also gave a breakdown of withdrawals from the Consolidated Revenue Fund and the excess crude account for payment to oil marketers under the subsidy regime.
In this report, we are reporting the sum of 1.774 trillion naira that has been paid to independent oil marketers as subsidy from 2013 to 2016. And this also is reflected in the table that is provided, showing the amounts that have been paid and listed, the details of which are listed in annexes 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the report. The total amount again is for the 4 years is 1.774 trillion naira paid to independent oil marketers as PMS subsidy for 2013 to 2016. From this, I would like to call the attention of the committee to note that the total sum of 6.210 trillion, that is the 4.4 trillion plus the 1.774 trillion, was expended on PMS under recovery by NNPC, as well as payment of subsidy to independent oil marketers from 2013 to 2021.
Zainab Ahmed, however, told the committee to request for the statement of account of the NNPC from the company directly. Members of the committee expressed their reservations about the payments, especially without determining the actual volume of PMS being circulated and consumed daily.
These quantities here, how does the Finance Ministry ascertain? Do you just allow NNPC to expend that money?
The claim here is that we are paying for what we are not consuming. Even when we have received of 64 million liters, with the years or months that we recorded 100 and something million liters. And like the chairman also mentioned, during COVID, when I was practically locked down, although the consumption was not 64 million liters, but it was still very high.
Consequently, the committee resolved to request documentary evidence of the beneficiaries of the 500 billion naira. The chairman of the committee, Representative Ibrahim Al-Mustafa Aliyu, speaking, further said he is worried about 6.7 trillion naira required for subsidy payments in 2022 as the 2023 financial year is approaching. By September, the National Assembly will be expecting President Buhari's budget submission, while the MTEF is already before the National Assembly.
We would like to know what parameter the ministry uses to arrive at this amount, 6.7 trillion plus. And then the Section 38 of the Finance Act put the responsibility of the management of the Consolidated Revenue Funds of the Federation in the hands of the minister, or by extension the ministry. So from your submissions, Honorable Minister, and then to the knowledge of all of us, we know that the revenue of the country is dwindling, particularly because of the subsidy-related issues. I don't know if the minister was able to, investigate this issue of subsidy in the past, how the handlers of the subsidy regime generally manage the issue.
Starting from the parameter that is used for the assessment of what is fuel subsidy, especially for 2023. We use information as provided by NNPC and the regulator. And for 2023, the projection is that the average daily truck out will be 64.96 million liters per day. That's about 65 million liters per day, using an average exchange rate and open market rate of 448 naira and 20 kobo, and then a regulator pump price of 165 naira per liter, and then an average, and this gives us an average under recovery, that is the difference between 165 and the 448, of 283.2. So just multiplying the amount of liter per day, the the open market exchange rate of naira to the dollar, and then the gap between the pump price and the open market price. The total amount of subsidy per day is 18.397 billion naira per day.
Meanwhile, the Public Accouts Committee of the House of Representatives on Tuesday, 16th of August 2022, asked the Nigeria Ports Authority (NPA) to hold an immediate reconciliation meeting with seaport terminal operators to resolve issues raised in audit queries from the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation. The audit query issued by the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation claims that 18 port terminal operators had failed to remit total sums of $753 million and 1.61 billion naira to the government. The chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, Representative Wale Oke, however, ordered the reconciliation meeting at an investigative hearing after one of the terminal operators, Tinkan Island Container Terminal (TICT), listed by the NPA as one of the debtors, denied owing $4.04 million. Representative Oke said that the Bureau for Public Enterprises and some of the committee members should be part of the meeting, noting that the reconciliation is necessary to resolve the controversy between the two parties over the actual amounts owed the government.
I will invite Auditor General to recite the query, the caption of his query on NPA, so Nigerians will be aware why we invited you. Auditor General, please, I want you to recap the issues between them and NPA.
He noted that the terminal operators were invited by the committee to file their defense, adding that the government is in dire need of revenue to meet certain obligations.
They gave us the breakdown of all the terminal operators owing them, and they have tried. So, but for fair hearing, we can't shave your head in your absence. We have to invite you so that we can hear your side of the story. We're at a crossroad where Nigeria is looking for money. Our children are home. We need to pay ASU members, and we have other serious issues to attend to. So we need every cover we can get. So that's why we invited you.
Thank you very much for this.
Earlier, the General Manager of Finance, Tinkan Island Port Container Terminal, Kulle Adigun, stated that the firm did not owe the government, while accusing the NPA of failing to respond to several letters calling for reconciliation of figures.
Several times we have made several appeals to NPA for them to call us to the table for us to discuss. We've been writing letters since 2015. Letters upon letter, reminder upon reminder. Let's come to discuss this issue.
He, however, admitted that the NPA had written to the TICT several times insisting that the company was indebted to the authority. The head legal department TICT, Marianne Olopade, noted that if the NPA had agreed to a reconciliation meeting with the company, there would have been no need for that investigative hearing.
These disputed invoices, which is the subject matter of this sitting, are invoices that we have written to NPA severally from the letters that we have even before this committee, asking that a reconciliation of parties be done so that we can arrive at the rightful figures to enable us to do the necessary payments. And after today, we had a meeting for the very first time of that issue on the 20th of October 2021. And NPA proved that we submit necessary documents to prove our calculation. And then we submitted this document to NPA. It is before you. This document, which we stated clearly all our the analysis of our true fruit-free payments. We also brought out clearly our GMT. We are entitled to GMT under the lease agreement. If I crave your indulgence to read the provision of Appendix L that speaks to GMT. We have, from 2006 to date, met and surpassed our GMT. But never was any adjustment made to give us the benefits as stipulated under the lease agreement. Those are issues that we have brought and have engaged NPA severally, asking that these issues be looked into so that we can pay.
Thanks for staying tuned. Earlier on in the program, we saw the meeting of the Public Accouts Committee as it carried out its investigations. This is just an example of how the committee goes about its investigations, reconciliations, and getting to the root of financial irregularities in the accounts of ministries, departments, and agencies. House Ticket interviewed lawmaker Oluwole Oke, who happened to be the chairman House Committee on Public Accounts. Lawmaker Oluwole Oke told us about some ministries, departments, and agencies that are found culpable before his committee.
Some MDAs, agencies, are found culpable in the areas of late or non-rendition of accounts as at when due. You have some agencies, MDAs, that violated provisions of Public Procurement Act. You have some MDAs where their personnel failed to retire advances granted to them. So you have arrays of issues raised by the Auditor General of the Federation. And the agencies concerned were given opportunity to appear, to say, to tell us their own side of the story.
On some of the findings of the committee, the lawmaker had this to say as regards sanctions.
The committee, Public Accounts Committee, under my leadership, we have done our own bits up to part of 2018. We still have some queries outstanding, part of 2018-19 that we are considering. But the ones we have done is before the House. So it's not for the House to consider them, to list them for discussion, for deliberations, consideration of reports, and then the House will take a position. And then our findings, the final work, will not be conveyed by the House. And don't forget that we operate a bicameral legislature. So we may still have to go into conference if there are differences in our own reports and that of the Senate. There may be need for us to go into conference, and then the final position will not be conveyed to the executive.
On what Nigerians should expect from the House Committee on Public Accounts, this is what he has to say.
What Nigerians should expect and what we are offering is that we take the queries as they come. We're in 2022. We're still waiting for 2020 and 2021 Auditor General's report. We don't have that. What we have is part of 2018 and 2019 Auditor General report. And we have issued letters to all the agencies, MDAs, individuals concerned to appear. So some of them are, using delaying tactics, excuses today, excuses tomorrow, excuses today. And we have written them finally that, look, we'll report it to your employer. Yes, we have the House provisions to summon, to issue warrant of arrest and all that. Right. But the first approach is to report it to your employer, Mr. President. To say, Mr. President, this your appointee is not competent. He has managed taxpayers' money for this financial year, for that financial year. And the Auditor General has raised issues on his agency, but he has refused to appear to defend them. So you have quite a number of them. The so-called big agencies running away from coming to render accounts and tell Nigerians what they have done with taxpayers' money appropriated to them.
The lawmaker also told us some of the pertinent issues bothering him as it relates to his position as the chairman House Committee on Public Accounts.
Our deficit has surpassed our revenue. It is worrisome. It is worrisome. The Minister of Finance, the DG Budget, and the House Committee on Finance needs to go back to the drawing table. It is laughable that we are borrowing to finance our national life, that we are borrowing to pay salaries, that we cannot meet our obligations. In a simple financial balance, it means that we're insolvent. That's just interpretation. And there are a number of things that government can do to get out of this. There are businesses that government is involving herself that they have no reason to do so. That they can allow the private sector to drive. Why should government be involved in building roads? These are programs that are concession to private sector. A lot of programs that government is involved in itself. You have so many agencies, you have duplication of functions, duplication of agencies. The number of personnel hired by federal government is just too much. And in some cases, the states and local governments are not actually doing their job, so the burden is on the federal government. The total of government should be allowed to function properly. So the federal government is bleeding. You have so many loopholes, leakages.
Away from his committee matters, lawmaker Oluwole Oke, during the interview, spoke on the plight of students in Nigeria.
Our students being locked out of school. ASU strike, as a result of ASU strike. Why should Nigerians, why should they be out of school? What is the problem? I've told my colleagues in the House that we are guilty for that. We can come by way of supplementary budget. Minister of Finance, what is your problem? ASU, what is your problem? Section 18, Procurement Act, your plan. What are your needs? Your plan, you meet it. There is no reason for us, for our students to be out of school for one day. You have children, youths, locked up for 6 months, roaming about the streets. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. That strike should not have lasted for a day or two for us to fix it. But it is worrisome that Nigeria is insolvent, that we cannot meet our obligations. It's very sad, very sad.
Honorable Oluwole Oke represents Ijesha North Federal Constituency of Osun State on the platform of the People's Democratic Party. He has been in the House of Representatives since 2015. He recently won the party's ticket to contest for the 4th time in the House. He took time to commend President Muhammadu Buhari's administration and relevant stakeholders for a free and fair election in Osun State.
Another issue that I would love to comment on is to thank President Buhari for giving us an environment to conduct free and fair election. I commend INEC, security agencies, over the just concluded Osun State gubernatorial election. It was peaceful. INEC was very prompt. So I give kudos to President Muhammadu Buhari. He has done that. He has fixed that. And I hope we'll repeat that in the 2023 presidential and National Assembly elections.
The program is House Ticket. Before we draw the curtains, let me congratulate the leader of the House, Representative Alhassan Ado Doguwa, who on the 14th of August 2022 received an award from a non-partisan organization, Kano State Citizens Forum, as the best legislator in the area of security. The award was given to him based on his support to security agencies in his constituency and his state, Kano State at large. New Age Network joins friends and other Nigerians to wish the lawmaker more successes as a legislator par excellence. Congratulations! It is on that note that we end the program. Let us meet again on this station for more activities of our elected representatives at the Green Wing of the National Assembly. God bless.